All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Picked up another Cub Cadet, another quiet line. I did this about 3 weeks ago. I couldn't pass it up. The price was just too good. And not that I need this tractor, but I'm probably ending up getting rid of the 1100. I was gonna take the engine out of it, but I just don't know if I can do that. So now that I found this one, I don't really have a need for all these two quiet lines. So this will probably be the one I'm gonna keep. Now, the other reason why I bought this tractor was it had two accessories that you don't see too often on it. It had the spring assist for the manual lift. That was a dealer installed option. And it also has the creeper drive. Now, creeper drives are not rare, but they're not very common either. And I've had creepers in the past and I'd sold them and I sort of regretted it because if you just find them separately, they're a lot of money. So this was another option, made the tractor unique, and it had a really good set of Goodyear ag tires on it. So whoever had this probably used it for gardening and that kind of stuff. Like I said, not a bad machine. He said it needs points. It will turn over. Now it doesn't run at this time, but if you take the fuel cap off, the tank's dirty. It needs gone through. So I'll probably, maybe this winter, if I get the other projects a little caught up, I'll go ahead and do this one. It does have the cast iron IH rear end in this, unlike the 1100 that I had. That one's got the Peerless transaxle, not as heavy. I'm going to go ahead and talk some facts about the Quiet Line series here. There was a lot of unique things to this series. They made a lot of changes. A lot of people may not know this was the longest running series of Cub Cadet tractor. They started production in 1974 and it ran to about 1980 till the 82 series come out. So right at the end of 79 is, I believe, when the 82 series come out. So 6 years of production, and surprisingly, for being run that long, you don't see these for sale as much as you do other models, and I don't get why. And the Quiet Lines are bringing really good money now. A lot of them I've seen, they're bringing higher dollar than some of even the 82 series. So I really don't understand that. There must just be a following for these. They did make some gear drives. They made an 800, and then they made the 1000, the 1200, and of course the 1100. The 1100 being the one they come out with after the 800, because the 800 did have the cast iron rear end like this one, but it didn't come equipped with side panels, and it had a 8 horsepower Kohler. Now, they still couldn't compete with cost with the other ones, so that's why they discontinued that, and they went with an 11 horse Briggs & Stratton and put the Peerless transaxle in there. So the 1000 and the 1200 are the only other two you could get the cast iron rear end. 1000, of course, having a 10 horsepower Kohler, the 1200 having a 12 horse. Now the whole Quiet Line series used single cylinder Kohler engines. The 1250, the 1450, and the 1650 were all the hydrostat models. So the 50s were the hydros, and then the numbers 12, 14, 16, that was just, you know, the horsepower rating. Headlights were optional on the 1000, the 1200, and the 1250. The 1450 and the 1650 headlights and taillights were standard equipment on them. So I'm just going to go over some things, since these models are pretty unique. I'm going to go over a few things and just talk to you guys a little bit for some facts with the Quiet Line, if anyone's interested. Rubber insulated engine mounts. Now, I did make the video on the 1100. I said it didn't have them. I'm sorry, I was wrong. It does have them. They use Goodyear rubber isolated mounts, and Cub Cadet, or International Harvester, got the idea for putting them on a Cub Cadet. It reduces noise and vibration, and the reason they do that is on the 66 series Internationals, when they started isolating the cabs from the tractor, it reduced vibration. Now they also have rubber flex discs on the front and rear of the drive shafts of the models also, and them continued on through the 82 series. They actually still use them on the drive shafts, but this was the only model that had the rubber isolated mounts. They'd done away with them on the 82 series, and they went back to just straight mounting them, and they were a wear point. I think that's why a lot of these tractors probably got junked through the years. Rubber mounts would go bad, you know, things like that, alignments maybe causing drive shaft issues, and instead of fixing them. Sadly enough, there are people that just take them to the scrapyard. I mean, it's sad, but it happens. Even today, it happens a lot. The first model also to have side panels. This was the first Cub Cadet to introduce side panels. And there again, that was just to cut back on noise, and it's probably more of a look thing as well. It does look unique. The air cleaner on these Kohler engines, these single cylinders, I don't know if I mentioned that, but they were all single cylinders in the Quiet Line series. I apologize, I don't have the covers off because they're screwed on there, but they're in a teardrop shape. And the reason is they did that is the flywheel blower would blow air into that teardrop as it's going, and it's not really a supercharge, but it's forcing air into there, and I guess to help for efficiency. Some of the things they changed in the Quiet Line series when they went through here. Now, some of them, if you ever look at one, some have an oval shape or a hole that's cut out and the exhaust trip protrudes. They changed it. This is a later model. The earlier models had a hole here that was cut out. You can see that exhaust for the muffler is recessed back. They changed it, I'm not sure when, but they went with a different muffler, and the tip was shorter, so the grill's solid. The tip doesn't come all the way out of it. So if you're looking at Quiet Lines and you see different things, and the tip is coming through, it's not necessarily someone changed it. Some of them actually had that. Now the steering wheel on the Quiet Line, the early models had almost a steering wheel like my 108 had. It had the IH emblem and it came down. They changed them. They went with a different steering gearbox. I believe they only used the old steering wheel for like a year. And the problem was on the hydrostat models, to move it, the steering wheel was too low and it was getting in the way. So they raised this an inch, I think it was an inch or two, and they went with this type of steering wheel, and it made it easier accessible for the hydrostat models. And then International carried this steering wheel and stuff through to the 82 series. So I think the Quiet Lines are pretty cool because I'm an 82 series guy. As you can see, that's mostly what I collect. And a lot of the things that they did on the Quiet Line series carried through, and some of them they didn't. Another thing that was brand new for the Quiet Line series that International had never done before, I can't see it because the shrouds are in the way, electromagnetic electronic PTO clutch. All the previous models had it where you had the handle that you'd have to manually engage it. It was all mechanical. This was the first series where they put an electric PTO clutch on them, and that was probably a pretty big deal for 1974, especially just because Cub Cadet hadn't done that before. They went with a poly fuel tank, a plastic tank. They switched when they did these. Now, the earlier models, I believe, had a smaller fill hole in them, so some of the tanks may be different. They did change it when, I don't know, but they did go with a larger fill spot. And this is actually a fuel gauge. It's no good, but you could open up the hood and it would, you know, show you how much fuel you had in it. So that was another probably pretty big deal when they come out with these, is, you know, like a new mower, a lot of things on it. They did carry on with that fuel gauge, but they put it through the top of the hood on the 82 series, so you wouldn't even have to open the hood. So one thing there. Relief valves. They're again on hydrostat models only. The earlier ones had it where you'd have to manually press and release the back pressure off so you could roll these forwards or backwards being hydrostat. They changed them, and there again, I'm not sure when, but that's when they went with an auto relief, which they were self-releasing. When you push it, they were automatic. You didn't have to hold down any lever or push any button when you do it. And they carried that throughout the 82 series as well. The front wheels, this one still has the 3/4, but in the time during the Quiet Line, they did change to a 1-inch spindle, and they carried the 1-inch spindles all the way through to the 82 series tractors as well. Now on a hydrostat model, there again, I wish I had a hydro model to show you guys this, and it's starting to get dark on me, but they had like an S pattern here, and then the lift was on this side. Well, it'd get pretty tricky using the hydro lever and the lift all on one side. So when they come out with the 82 series, they changed it to a Z pattern, and then that's why all your auxiliary lifts and your lift for your mower deck and everything's on the left side of the 82 series because it just was tricky to run with it on there. So another little change they did. Now, quiet line, all the other previous tractors, they had a starter alternator or starter generator. It was my 108 has it, all them, the 102s, them, all the previous models, but they actually went to, on the engines, and there again, it's down in there, I apologize, you can't see it, but they went to a starter alternator. So the starter would kick over and it would turn this about 400 RPM, where the older models was really slow, and if you let them idle at low idle, you wouldn't really charge much on a starter generator, so that wasn't a big deal. Now, one option you could get for gear drives only, and this is on a quiet line, is you could get a rear PTO. And this doesn't have it. It'd be pretty cool if it did, just because it's worth more money. There's really not a lot of uses for rear PTOs. They're just a cool factor, but they discontinued them on the 82 series. I do not believe that there was ever a rear PTO option for a 582. I'd have to do some research on that, but I don't recall it ever being an option. The quiet line series on the 1000 and the 1200, you could get a rear PTO in this. I don't think you could in the 800. I may be wrong. If any of you know, please comment below, but I don't think it was an option for the 800. But I know definitely it was for the 1000 and the 1200. The brakes. Now, you could get internal or external brakes, and I had read somewhere where you could only get the external on the model 1200, but that doesn't seem to be true. This has the internal brake, and you could get them either way, where the brake calipers were on the outside, one on each wheel, or the internal. I don't know what the really big difference would be. The only option I think it would be have an external. My 108 has them, the 982 has them, but maybe for steering brakes is the only, not real sure on that if one's better than the other. Hour maintenance meter minder right there. They started adding these to quiet line series. That was an option. Hopefully it picks it up. Now that was an option on all models. So that didn't come factory. That was something that you could get, and they offered it on all but the 1100. You couldn't get it on the 1100. Pretty sure you could get it on the 800 because it had the same type of dash. Maybe it didn't. There again, not 100%. And then, like I said before, you could get headlights and taillights on them. I'm not sure on the 1100 there, but 1650 they were standard. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this running. I plan on doing some more videos on this and hopefully do some things with it and show you guys. Before I end this though, that spring assist is pretty nice, because with these manual lift tractors, if you have an implement on it and you go to pull it up, this one's stuck. It was working the other day, but it just helps lift things. So if you have a snow blade or anything like that, it's just spring assist. And then the creeper drive, I didn't really talk a whole lot about that. It initially turns us in from a 3-speed tractor to a 6-speed. So if I have this in first gear and I have it in high, it's normal, like a normal tractor would be. But if I put this in low and then I put this in first gear, it just makes it run a lot slower. So if it's in high, you can go through your whole 3-speed and nothing really changes. But when you put it in low and put it in your desired gear, it just knocks it back a little bit. So like I said, I got some playing around to do with this. I'm gonna try to, see how well I can get it running, pull the tank off, and I'm still working on the 582. I'm finishing up that rear end of the super diesel. Then when I get that done, I want to start tearing that down, painting and doing things. And then I'm going to start on another tractor, which is going to be a surprise. But that's probably not going to be started till next year. I'll keep you updated on that. There'll always be more content coming. I hope this video was informative. If I missed anything or told anything wrong, guys, I don't know everything. I just do what I research about this stuff. Please comment below. As always, thanks for watching.